Hello and welcome to another Tekla Structures video. In this video, we're going to be covering general arrangement drawings. The agenda for today is creating some drawings, editing some drawings as far as adding dimensions and text, showing associative notes, creating some detail views, section views, showcasing revisions and hatching, and finally ending with some object level settings. Let's jump right into the model. All right, back in the model, we're going to click on View. We're going to open up our view list. While holding down Control, let's select 0, 10, and G. That'll open up all three of the views. By clicking on the window ribbon on top, we can easily cycle through the different views. Control P to go between ISO and plan. Select the view. You'll notice the yellow ribbon around the outside. Right click, create general arrangement drawing. And now we're going to hold down Control and select the 0 and +10, and we're going to change the setting to one drawing per view. Click Create. On the top ribbon, click Drawings and Reports, and then the Document Manager. This will open up all of our current drawings. On the left-hand side, we can click GA Drawings. This will filter out all of the GA drawings. Let's select the first one here. Double-click the drawing to open it. Now you notice that some of the settings are off. The view's not on there, so let's double-click in the white background, and we're going to load in a standard out-of-the-box setting. Click Erection Sheet and press Load. And then on the top, we're going to change the name to E1. And then we're also going to change the Title 1. We're going to change Title 1 to Foundation Layout. Press Modify down at the bottom. This will take a second because it's changing all of your view settings, dimensions, marks, objects, everything like that. It's applying all of those settings into the drawing. With that sheet done, we're going to open up sheet 2. And we're basically going to do the same thing. So expand this view, double click in the background. And for this one, we're going to load in the same thing, erection sheet. But now we're going to call this E2, and we're going to change Title 1 to First Level. Press Modify. Okay to close the dialog. Let's close out of these drawings. Select Yes to keep the changes. Now from our window tab here, we're going to go to view 3 here along grid G. And we're going to come to the applications and components over here and showcase a macro called rotate view 180. So in the side pane here, type in flip. This will bring up flip view 180 degrees. This is a very nice and easy way to flip your view 180. You'll notice that grid 4 right now is on the right hand side. Press that, it flips to the left. So now we can come in here and right click and create a general arrangement drawing of this side of the building. So you can very easily use this macro to get inside versus outside views. Now on the previous two sheets, we changed the drawing settings once the drawings were created. This time we're going to load in the settings here prior to creating the drawing. So let's load in the elevation one. Select Load. And the name is going to be E3 and the title Elevation Drawings. Now it's very important that on the bottom here you click Apply. And that's basically going to save those settings in there. So as soon as we select Open Drawing and click Create, those settings are going to stick. And there you have it. Now you don't need to double click in the background and setting those settings because we already set it prior. All right, now we're going to continue on creating a couple more elevation drawings. So select View, View List, and select the 3 current views that are open and select the left arrow to close them. Now open grids 4 and A. Press OK, maximize the view. Now make sure that your application as component still has the flip view 180 macro open. And let's rotate this view 180 there. Go to our grid 4 elevation, and we're going to flip that one as well. So now click on Drawings and Reports, Create Drawings, and then GA Drawing. And let's select grids 1, 4, and A. Click on Drawing Properties, and we're going to load in the elevation and change the name to E5. Press OK. And 1 drawing per view. Select Create. Now what this is going to do here, as we go to our document manager, you'll notice this is going to create 3 separate drawings, all with E5 as the name and all with elevation drawing as the title. So we're going to change that. So let's start by opening up the first one, which is about grid 4. So we can double click in the background. We can leave the E5, and let's change this to say grid 4 elevation drawing. Select Modify. Click back on your document manager and select the next drawing down. Select Yes to keep the changes. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to change this one. This is about grid A. So we're going to double click in the background. This time we're going to change the name to E6. And then update the title to say grid A. Press Modify and OK. Go back to the document manager, and for the last time here, let's open up the last sheet. And you'll notice those are now updated. There's an E5 and an E6. Let's open up the last one, maximize the drawing. This one is about grid 1. Double click in the background, change this to E7 and grid 1 elevation drawing. Press Modify. And now as we close this drawing and then open back up our document manager, all of the drawings will have updated. E5, E6, and E7, all with their respective titles. All right, now we're going to showcase another method to create general arrangement drawings through the master catalog. So let's go to the view list and bring open the elevation plus 20 view. When you select the view, you'll always notice the yellow border around there. So go to Create Drawings, Master Drawing Catalog. This catalog houses all of your different drawing settings from erection to cast unit, hardware, and houses all of that information. You can save them away in here. Click on the erection drawing setting and then erection sheet G on the right. And then right click on it and go to Create Drawings. So similar to how before we opened up the properties and loaded in the settings and then created the drawings, this was a second way to do things. So here's our drawing. Double clicking in the background, we're going to change this to E4. And then we're going to change the title to second floor. Press Modify. Close out of the drawings and then open up the document manager. Now you'll notice we have all of our drawings here. We have E1 through E4. And then we have our 3 elevation drawings, E5 through E7. Now what we're going to do is create some detail sheets. So let's go to Create Drawings, GA Drawing. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to create 3 blank empty drawings here. So select the drop down here to say Empty Drawing. And then from the drawing properties on the top, we're going to load in the detail sheet. Detail page. Load, So we're applying the C1 drawing. Click Create. That'll create one C1 drawing. We're going to change it now to C2. Press Apply OK. I'll bring my box over here. Click Create. That now created a C2 drawing. And now we're going to do one more drawing for C3. Apply OK. And then Create. Now open up your document manager and you'll see that we've just created 3 empty drawings, C1, C2, and C3, all with a size 8 by 10.5 for our details. Close out of that and save the model. All right, next we're going to open up one of our drawings and go over some dimensioning. So click on Document Manager and let's open up the E1 foundation layout. Double click on it or single click and then come down to the bottom left and click Open. Maximize the drawing. Now dimensions are free to move in their same plane, so you can just click and drag them down. Select the dimension once, click and drag it down. They're free to move in that same plane. So we're going to do the same thing here with the vertical dimensions. Single click and then click and drag. You'll notice that little crosshair icon comes up when doing so. Now grid selections, on the bottom ensure that you have the grid selection icon ticked. And what we're going to do here is you'll see there's a tiny little endpoint there, just right there. We're going to select it once, and once that's selected you can click and drag that either way within that plane, so you can grab it left and right for horizontal grids. So we're going to select that little endpoint, drag it in, select the endpoint, drag it in. You can do this to kind of clean your drawings up a little bit if things are on top of one another, to kind of create some space. Next we're going to add some dimensions, so let's go to the dimensioning ribbon and click vertical. You have to make sure that you're only dimensioning in the vertical axes here, and then there's a horizontal axis as well when using these tools. So let's go up to our stairwell and click the endpoint, and then middle mouse. Middle mouse is how you finish adding a dimension, and you can right click interrupt to end the command or press escape. Once you add in the dimension, you're free to click and drag it however you want to position it properly. You can also, from the top ribbon, select Add Point. So let's say you want to link it to the grid. Now you just have to single click on the grid. And your dimension line will automatically add in. Now select horizontal dimension. We're going to do the same thing for the horizontal dimensions here. Let's link it to grid F outside of the stair shaft to the grid to the outside on the other side. And then middle mouse to finish the command, right click to interrupt the command. Click and drag those dimensions. You can do the same thing with the marks. You can click and drag those and move those anywhere you want to get them out of the way. All right, next we're going to jump into some basic functionalities of the text command. So on the top, go to Annotations and then Text. Just by clicking on the T here, we can just start typing in some text. These T's are continued on next floor. Plan E2. We're going to change the word wrapping to on, and we're going to change the ruler width. Select Apply OK. Now this is, you can click the down arrow here and change it whether it has a leader line, no leader line, etc. We're going to zoom into the double T's. Click once, click twice. These T's are continued on the next floor plan E2. Right click to interrupt the command. So this is an example of text with a leader line. Now we're going to show one without a leader line. So by selecting on the T, we're just going to basically generate a general note to throw on the bottom left-hand side of our drawing here. So general note, T's are spaced 10 feet on center, unless otherwise specified on drawing. Now by clicking up, well, first here, let's change the ruler width here and then select apply. Okay. Now by selecting apply here, we're basically saving that text within the text tool. So anytime that now we single click, that text is automatically going to populate in. So zoom into the bottom left here and single click, and you'll notice that our drawing node is in there. Now we're just going to click and drag this view out of the way to kind of clean up the drawing. And there you have it. Those are the basics of adding text within GA drawings. Now we're going to jump into some associative notes here. You can think of these as basically smart notes. So in the annotations tab, let's go to the A and let's do with a leader line. We're going to zoom into this pad footing over here. Select the pad footing once and then click again. You'll notice that it automatically knows that it's a pad footing. If you double click on the associative note, it'll bring up the properties here. You'll notice that in the elements in Mark, you'll see the name tab is already brought over there, which is basically why it's calling out pad footing. So let's add some more characteristics to our note here. So selecting this icon here is basically an enter. So it's going to say pad footing, and then it's going to skip to the next line. Then we're going to enter in the size. Then we're going to select in another enter. And then we're just going to select some text, some standard text that we're going to specify. So in the text box, type in typical unless noted otherwise. And then select OK. And then now press modify. And you'll see that your note is automatically updated. And there you go. That's the basics of using associative notes. Feel free to use them for sizes, lengths, direction, different symbols, anything like that. Feel free to use them. Next, we're going to cover the symbol. So go to your annotation ribbon and then click on the symbol. We're going to load in the north symbols and press load. Click apply OK, and then zoom into the bottom right hand corner of your drawing. Single click, you'll notice that the north symbol pops in. If you highlight it, you can right click and go to the properties of it, and then go to the appearance tab, where you can change its size in the height field. You can change its respective color. Let's change it to 2, increase it a little bit. And then now if you want to move it, single click on it, right click move, and then linear, click your host location, and then click your destination. And that's basically it with symbols. You can load in your own custom symbols, or you can use the ones out of the box. All right, next we're going to create a detail view here. So let's go to the View tab and then select Detail View. Let's zoom into this bottom right column over here. Select the first time for your location, second time for extents, third time for the label, and then the fourth time to show where you want that detail to go. Right-click Interrupt. Basically creates a detail or a blow-up view of the location that you inquired. Now let's go back to the drawing and open up the document manager. Basically what we're going to do here is now we're going to move this detail to our detailed drawing. So let's select our C1 drawing, click on the view for our detail we just created, right click and select move to drawing. And then this little dialog box will pop open and then select move. Now that detail leaves this GA drawing and is now located on our detail page that we created. Now let's say that we want our detail callout to actually reference that drawing. So we would double click on it and go to the detail mark, come down here to the A2, click the dot, 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 and then I'm going to make this box bigger here so that everyone can see it. And then we're going to select the source drawing name when moved. And then we're going to add it to the elements in the mark. And then we're going to select modify. Now what that's going to do is that's going to look for that detail and it's going to call out the sheet C1 right below the detail P. And that is now forever linked with that. So as that detail moves around to different sheets, if it were to move, that's going to auto update. So you never have to worry about things not matching up. All right, next we're going to get into the section view. So let's go to the view ribbon and then click section view. We're going to zoom into one of our columns over here. Select the first point to the left. Select the second point to the right, and now we're going to define our view box. We're going to click one time up there and then one time down there. That's going to basically say this is everything that's included in our section, and then I'll final click to drop in the section. Double click on the view boundary box, and we're going to load in one of the presets. So change it to section. That'll load in all the section properties, and then select modify. And then now you'll see all of the section properties are in there. If we click and drag on this purple box here, this is basically our view, what we can see. So as you'll notice here, as we move this up and down, what is shown in the section changes. So we're basically going to move it up here to kind of show our corbel connection for our inverted T-beam. Now there's a lot of parts here, a lot of embeds and plates, jumper plates, things of that nature. So if we select them all while holding control, we can right click and select add mark. And we can basically add part marks to all these, and we're going to, from the drop down, select the name field and then press modify. And then over here on the side you can, change some of the colors and fonts and sizes and things of that nature. So we're going to set it to what we have there, and then click the add frame box to basically get a border around all of these, and then press modify. You'll see that it automatically labels everything that you had selected with the part name, and then it places a nice border around it. You can click and drag these callouts anywhere that you'd like to kind of clean up your view. Now let's say this was a pretty standard detail and we were going to continue to use this on more projects. You can come over here to the 2D library, select this once, it'll open up the 2D library dialog, click the plus button. It says new detail from selected objects. Now it says first select the drawings that will make up the details. So we're going to window over everything in here. Press the plus. Now it's going to say pick the reference point. So you can pick anywhere that you'd like to use as a reference point. Maybe it's the bottom of the section here as I choose. And then now it says capture a sample image. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to draw a little window around this so that way we can easily pick it out from the library. And then now it says detail saved. So now it's in there. You can save this, whether it be to your system folder, firm folder, or just this current model. You can change, the name of the detail, things of that nature, description. So you can save it away for future projects. So if you have a lot of standard out-of-the-box details, I would strongly recommend you guys use this feature and store away all of those standards so that way you can just pop these details in with just one click. If we zoom out a little bit, we can interrupt the command, and then now I can show you how easy it is to load them in. So click on it one time, then click where you want it to go, and there it is. It drops in your detail. Right-click interrupt, and save the model. All right, next we're going to jump into some drawing revisions here. So by clicking on the document manager, and then selecting one of our drawings, E1, on the bottom left you'll see a revision tab. Select that. And now the revision handling dialog box will open up. This is basically where you can keep track of the current state of the drawing, who's created it, checked it, approved it, all the corresponding dates, if you want to add any descriptions, things like that. And you can also track what is your current revision set. So right now we're just going to put in some erroneous created and checked and approved by. You'll see that the date brings up a calendar. You can just simply select whatever date the certain task was done on. And then just click create. And by selecting on this revision tab here, we can select the actual revision of the current set. You can just click modify once you have something set in there. And now you'll see that the revision mark there is now mark 1. You can very easily delete out any revisions that you have previously put in if they're a mistake by simply pressing the delete. And next we're going to jump into creating revision marks on the drawing. So let's open up sheet E1. Maximize the drawing. And then let's zoom in here, and let's just say there was some kind of revision or this column moved or something. So we're going to come up to the drawing and click on the draw cloud command. Basically just click around a square shape around the part in question. And that'll automatically drop into cloud. Right click interrupt. And now we're going to come to the annotations tab and select the revision mark. And then add revision mark. This will basically allow us to create our Delta 1 tag. You can change the marker labels however you would like. You can also enter in some of the created by, checked by, and approved by dates and individuals to keep track of your current revisions and know who's doing what. If you press apply and then simply click, you'll notice that the Delta 1 revision tag is inserted next to your cloud. So that's how you handle revisions with your drawings and then actually creating your revision marks on your set. All right, the next section we're going to get into is fills. So let's zoom into this pad footing here, double click on it, and let's select the fill tab. And over on the left hand side, the part faces, click the dot dot dot. And these are all the standard out of the box fills that you can change, whether it be brick or some certain design or the concrete appearance. For this one, we're just going to make it solid. And then we're going to change the color to special and press modify. So move this box over, you'll see the pad footing now has a nice fill to it. That's the basics of fill. Okay, let's continue on with some object level settings. So let's go to the document manager and let's open up our E2 drawing. You'll see the drawing is very cluttered right now, lots of hidden lines everywhere that we don't really want to see in this particular level. So by double clicking on the background and going to the objects part, we can turn some of these hidden lines by unchecking those boxes and pressing modify. Just by doing that alone, you'll notice that all of the hidden lines, for that particular view are now gone. So it's definitely cleaned it up some. Another thing we're going to do is double click on our gray view border. And we're going to change the depth up. So you can change the depth down and the depth up to display more content based on whatever your datum elevation is. So we're going to change that. Press modify. And then now you can either filter things from the view setting or you can simply select them while holding control if you want to select multiple things, and then right click and then you can hide them, hide from the drawing view. This is kind of like a quick and dirty way to hide some things away. And that's the basics of creating object level settings. All right, so back in one of our floor plans here, we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into some of the object level settings and how you can take a drawing that looks like this and clean it up. So right now, our drawing kind of looks like a mess, right? Everything is the same color. There's a lot of hidden lines that we don't want to see. Let's take some of these next steps and let's clean this drawing up. So what you could do is you could come here and you could double click on your double T's and simply turn off the own hidden lines and press modify. That works. You could also highlight over a bunch of them with this dialog still open, press modify. And yes, that does work, but that is not the best way to go about things. We want to set that up on the drawing level so that way this automatically comes in without us even doing anything about it. So let's undo what we just did there and let's show you how we can do that. So let's double click in the background and you're going to look right here for the settings. You're going to edit settings. And we're just going to create our own here. We're going to call this the precast floor plan. We're going to save it away. I'm going to add a row. Now this is going to be the model object that you want to control. So for the first things, I'm going to choose precast double T. And then I'm just going to change the outline to magenta. And I'm going to press modify. You notice that's great. We were able to control the color of the double T, but there's still the hidden lines there. We'll get to that. So next, let's add another row. Let's just do a couple of these just to drive the idea home. We'll do our precast spandrels here, LB spandrels. Maybe we'll call these ones blue. We'll add another row, precast the NLB spandrels, and we'll call these maybe red. Let's press modify. So our drawing's starting to kind of clean up a little bit with some colors, that way we can, disseminate between the different precast items. But we still want to get rid of these hidden lines here for the T's. So what we can do is we can come in here to the objects part, and we can load in that magenta one, the outline magenta. Let's load it in. You'll notice that default, it's got these own hidden lines turned on. So let's uncheck them, but then instead of saving over this out of the box setting, let's kind of create our own here. So let's call this Precast double T. And then all you got to do is press Save As. You can close out of this box once you've saved it. Let's go back up here to our object level settings. Now you'll notice from this drop down we have a Precast double T that we can just load in. And if we press modify, all of the hidden lines will go away. And now our drawing is already much more clean. Just from setting those couple things up, we can clearly disseminate between the double T's and the different spandrels, from the walls to the inverted T-beams. I would strongly suggest you create these object level settings for each of your different precast types. It's very important when it comes to printing, when it comes to dimensioning, even when you get down to cast units. It's just very important to have that set up. So definitely make sure you guys take the time and go through these steps. I hope you guys learned a thing or two. Thank you for watching.